Hello there and welcome to The Probe. Tonight on The Probe, Special Prosecutor Kisi Ejabing is coming under intense criticism following his sole decision to probe some commercial activities of La Bianca, a Ghanaian firm wholly owned by Eunice Asamoah, who doubles as a member of the Council of State. A redacted report released by the Office of the Special Prosecutor reveals that over 1 million cedis has been retrieved from the La Bianca group as shortfalls in import duties paid to the frozen foods company earlier this year. Also, the owner of the company, Eunice Asamoah, is now on red alert for influence peddling. The OSP claims she's used her role as a board member of the Ports and Harbours Authority to bend the rules in favor of a company. Beyond this as well, some top officials of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority have also been indicted, even as the Office of the Special Prosecutor awaits an integrity plan from the Revenue Authority by December this year. But tonight, there is a pushback as the findings of the Special Prosecutor is being described as one hinged on malicious intents.
Since 3 days ago, what has been happening? A report purporting or coming from the Office of the Special Prosecutor trying to indict the Deputy Commissioner of Operations and myself. And anybody who has read that report very well will know the basis of that. And luckily for me, God is always on my side. Before that report came, that person had made a statement to some people who had come to them. He was going to publish something that will discredit me, and he will do that. And I even sent people to go and tell him that he's a small boy. I'm older than him. I have lived a meaningful life. If he attempts to destroy me, it won't be easy for him. People have tried it. I have survived. And this one too, I'll survive. All that happened. One of the reasons was because of Mr. Akurugu. He wanted Mr. Akurugu to be seconded to his office, and I said no. Mr. Akurugu is a customs officer, primarily employed to do customs work. And he is to partner Mr. Akutofachin in that office, African Continental Free Trade Area. He deals with tariffs and valuation. And therefore, I cannot second him to the Office of the Special Prosecutor because he has a primary role to play in customs. And then he comes back through the Commissioner General. And again, I said, I insist, and we'll go by that he has a primary role. It is when I don't have a role for him, or I can dispense with his services, I have others to do what he's going to do, that I will give him to you. So I insist. And he calls me to his office when in relation to La Bianca. And at the end of it, he talks to me about this same matter. And I said, yes. It is not the Commissioner General. I wrote it. Go and check it. And I have my reasons. He will not be released to you. He will be in customs. And then behind me, he goes to resign. He's given the position of Commissioner of Police a rank, and he's now with your office. And he goes to make allegations that Mr. Duce and myself, we hit him, and they will deal with us. So that is it. That is the basis of that publication. But if you read it very well, there's nothing in it. It's hollow. It's actuated by malice. And those who are behind it, they know themselves. They know themselves. They've tried it several times. It is not working, and it won't work. I'm ready for any prosecution. That's what he must do. Not to say that they should do further investigations up to 2017. Up to 2015, I have letters written by Deputy Commissioner Demis Agavo granting similar things. And I produced them when he called me. He didn't have the letters, but I had the letters. My predecessor, Mr. Crenson, had those letters. This is common practice in customs. If you want to remove me, I have no problems. I won't be Commissioner of Customs forever. I'm ready to go.
And so that fight is on. But tonight we're asking that big question. Where did this Special Prosecutor go wrong? The Probe, as always, is interactive, so feel free to contribute and be a part of the show via all of our social media handles, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and also on WhatsApp. As always, The Probe is also live on the JoyNews channel, DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144, Joy 99.7 FM, and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, myjoyonline.com, Spotify, and other media platforms. Welcome once again to The Probe. I am Blessed Sogan. Stay with us as we unpack the matters tonight. And so thanks for staying with us here on the Joy News channel. For those of you on radio, it's Joy 99.7 FM and all of our affiliates across the country, as well as on our social media platforms. We're talking tonight about the alleged rot at the Tema Harbour and the reports released by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. It's actually on an indigenous firm, La Bianca Group of Companies, and portions also relate to the Ghana Revenue Authority. So let me quickly bring in my guest for tonight. Adam Senano is co-chair for the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Murtala Mohammed is a former Deputy Minister for Trades and Industry, also a member of the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament. SRO Gift E. Kofi Chama is National Secretary for the Customs Staff Association, and Dennis Amfo Sefa is President of the Chamber of Free and Trade. They are all joining us here on the show tonight. But how did we get here? Let's give you a quick recap of the background to this and that report that was released by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Well, here's a background, first of all, to it. The La Bianca Company Limited, has been pointed out by the report from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, indicates that they commenced operations in 2014. And it's a wholly owned company, which is Ghanaian, by the way, and controlled by Ms. Asamoah on all practical and legal considerations. Now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor continues to point out that on the 16th of November 2021, the office received a written complaint from one Mr. Frank Asari, who leveled some allegations against the La Bianca Group of Companies and subsidiaries. So, part of the complaints that we're pointing out to you on the screens right now for TV audience, and for those of you on radio may want to have a feel of it, it's the fact that there's some claims of illegal and questionable dealings between La Bianca and the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, resulting in some unlawful markdown, review, you may want to call it, or reduction of the benchmark values of frozen food products imported by this company at the center of the controversy, which is the La Bianca Group of Companies, under that guise of the customs advance rulings. Now, after a number of considerations, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is pointing out tonight that it has figured out that there was not much engagement with the Customs Division and La Bianca itself in the first 3 years of the operations of the Ghanaian company, beyond normal transactions such as standard customs duty and other tax obligations for the acceptance of La Bianca's value of frozen foods and its intended imports. Those were the clear areas within which the company was operating. But by the time, of course, the company commenced serious business, which one of them is at the center of this controversy in terms of their application to the GRA, Ms. Asamoah, who's the owner, as the Office of the Special Prosecutor is pointing out to us, of La Bianca, had then been elected as of 2017 as a member of the Council of State representing the Western region, and then subsequently she was appointed as a member of the governing board for the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. And throughout the period of these investigations as well, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is pointing out that Mr. Asamoah is a politically exposed person, going by the dictates of Act 959 and Section 79 to be precise. But beyond this as well, when the application was made, and we need to point out here, which most of you on TV can see, that La Bianca made a certain application to the Ghana Revenue Authority, which is resulting in all of this. That application was made to the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority on the 6th of April 2021. And this was just 2 months after the appointment of Mr. Eduche, who's also being named in the report tonight. Mr. Che, for those of you who may not know him, is a Deputy Commissioner at the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. So these are some of the key findings that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is pointing to. And here's what we need to tell you. Because we don't have all of the time, we just need to skip quickly and talk about the OSP's key findings. Before this one as well, the OSP is coming to the conclusion that the tax rebate that was paid back to some, amounting to some 1 million Ghana cedis, was as a result of some wrong discount, or if you may want to call it, that allowance that was given by the GRA personnel to LaBianca, for which the OSP is asking for a refund close to the tune of some 1 million Ghana cedis. But then the finality of the conclusion, as you're seeing on the screens right now, is the fact that the OSP finds that there's a strong evidence to suggest that Mr. Eduche's decision to issue a customs advance ruling, which is the basis for which they believe they are operating on, for the application from LaBianca was procured through, quote, influence peddling. That's where all of the controversy is coming from. And trading of influence by the same member of the Council of State, Mr. Sumahini, by employing her position as a member of the Council of State and then a member of the Board of Directors for the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. So that's where the controversy is stemming from. And there's a lot of pushback, not just from the Customs Staff Association, but also from the Chamber of Freight and Trade. But let's start off from the quarters of the Customs Staff Association. They are the latest to issue a statement on this. And fortunately, we've been joined by SRO Gift Chama. Good evening to you, sir, and welcome to our studios.
Good evening. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, and we'll be getting into the matter shortly. Dennis is also here with us. It's good to see you. I had to drag you in studio, but it's fine. We'll unpack all of the issues. But let's start off with, first of all, your concern as the Customs Staff Association. In fact, you've issued a statement pointing out that you are getting some indication that due to the reports we are hearing and the reports from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, there may be a reshuffle or some shake-up within the hierarchy of the Ghana Revenue Authority, which you claim could be detrimental to the country's revenue, which government is in a dire need for at this moment. Exactly what are your concerns as the Customs Staff Association?
Once again, very good evening to your viewers and listeners across the country and the world. In fact, for us at the Customs Staff Association, the employment in which we are is that which involves mobilization of revenue for the national development of our country. And ordinarily, the Staff Association will not have a problem with any state institution or individual who wants to complement that effort in any way. But as a creature of law, we believe that when such decisions are supposed to be made, it ought to accord with the same details of the law that regulates our activities. So to start with, customs valuation itself is an international phenomenon. Right. In fact, it's known to every customs administration across the world. So it is regulated by the WTO General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. So it is the basis upon which the Ghanaian Parliament has domesticated this law in our Customs Act. So any talk about customs valuation must be centered on what the law provides.
Yeah, but you're dealing with the custom valuation, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and that's where they have a challenge with your association. They claim that they're dealing with the customs advance ruling, which is at variance with what you are talking about. Yes. Your portion deals with section 67, 68 of the act, which you are referring to. But they say when you look at the requirements for the customs advance ruling, that requirement was not met. And that's part of the key arguments the Office of the Special Prosecutor is making.
Yes. So, in fact, the customs advance ruling, customs performs 3 key functions: revenue mobilization, trade facilitation, and security of our borders, public safety, and health. So, as part of the whole conversation around trade facilitation, the WTO again came up with a scheme or a system known as the advance ruling. So that again is provided for in our law. But the basis upon advance ruling, I've read the report.
Right.
When you read it, sometimes we need to place emphasis on substance rather than form.
Why?
Because you see, when most people, generally, our population, are not very versed in, especially matters of customs taxation.
Right.
So when someone applies to you and asks you to take a decision on his consignment, even before that consignment arrives, that technically is an advance ruling the person is seeking for.
Is that what the law says?
No,
the law is asking clearly that if you want to benefit from it, you may, and that's the operative word, you may apply for that and then get the issuance from the Commissioner General.
Yes.
The OSP is saying that requirement has not been fulfilled. That's the clear argument the OSP is making.
No.
So in your view, looking at this transaction that was done, was it an advance ruling or a discount? Because there are some experts who are pointing to a discount in the case that we're seeing now.
Yes, so I'll proceed to deal
Right.
with the issue of the discount.
Right.
And to start that argument
Right.
again, the entire customs, let me limit it to customs.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we do in every station is done on and on behalf of the Commissioner General. So in practical terms, you wouldn't expect that any of such applications will hit the desk of the Commissioner General. This is very similar to, for instance, private rulings when it comes to domestic taxation. So when this application is made to the commissioner, he can exercise that delegated power. And even in terms of our act itself, it says that the Commissioner General can directly perform those functions or delegate the functions to proper officers.
The feeling now is that as an association, you're simply jumping to the defense of one of your own, which is fine. But in terms of the law, it must be applied, which the OSP is doing. How do you react to claims that you're simply trying to play on emotions and not deal with what is before you? The fact that there were some infractions and that you went beyond what the law requires.
Yes, so the point must be made clear that it is not about us jumping to the defense of whoever occupies the office of commissioner or deputy commissioner today. But at all times, we must hold fidelity to the dictates of the law. And you may be a consummate professional in your field.
Right.
But when it comes to issues of customs valuation, it goes beyond just mere ability to
No, I'm asking you all of these questions. I wish I could even bring back your statement. Probably we'll just roll that portions of it on the screen. So, I mean, our viewers can also follow. And for those listening on radio, basically what the Customs Staff Association are putting out there is that you're also going beyond this to question parts of the OSP's findings. And you claim that his findings, and that's partly on the screens right now for those who care to read excerpts of it, his findings are not accurate. These were some of the words you used in your statement. And that's why I'm taking you clearly on some of the issues you're raising with the report. Because if you're saying that, well, there are times that you relax the law, which is in consonance with some of the practices at GRA, clearly what you're pointing out in your statement seeks to punch some holes in the Office of the Special Prosecutor's report. So you'd have to back that with evidence. And that's why I'm asking where and which part of the law has the OSP faulted or is not finding right?
Okay. So the conclusions of the OSP is founded on the discounts granted on benchmark values. So then you ask yourself, what is this whole thing called benchmark value? When it comes to, that is about customs valuation. That is why I said we cannot even situate this whole conversation within Section 12 alone. The Section 12 is about granting someone an advance ruling concerning any of the tax laws as it regards to customs. So when the person applies, when you take that decision to grant it, you must go to the section that deals specifically with that. And when you read provisions on advance ruling, it talks about even classification. So for instance, if you are going to deal with a classification result out of that approval granted for advance ruling, you must go under Section 66.
We need to point out that this is a redacted report from the Office of the Special Prosecutor and that persons have given testimonies, before the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And part of them includes the very officials you're defending. For instance, your Deputy Commissioner at the GRA pointed out clearly that the laws under which he was operating at the time was the advance rulings within the Customs Act. And that takes us to Section 12 of that same act that you're talking about. So if you're claiming that that law alone should not be applied, then that clearly points to the fact that you are shifting the goalpost now, because that's part of the testimony that was given by Mr. Eduche. You agree?
And that is perfectly right.
Yeah. So
and so what I'm saying.
So you agree that your association got it wrong?
Not at all. And that is why. So I'll take you to the section 12.
Right.
The Commissioner General may issue a written ruling applying the customs laws to a particular set of facts submitted by an interested party. And an interested party here is an importer, its designated agent, or anybody interested in that particular consignment. And when that is done, and you are satisfied that you want to grant that, if it is about classification, you go to the rules on classification.
But it's a requirement indicating that that interested party may apply.
May apply.
Right.
But if an interested party applies to you that accept my values and submitted to you from the OSP's own report, that the application was made to the commissioner, asking that accept my values for this consignment.
That's not found in the reports. The report says that La Bianca did not make any application. It's clearly stated there. But let me bring in. Let me allow you the time to just go through it. Let me bring it Sefa, because Sefa, your point also is that La Bianca didn't fault and that we are killing Ghanaian businesses. So take it away.
I told you that the position of our chamber is simple. Customs did no wrong. La Bianca did no wrong. They all acted within the confines of the law. And I'll tell you why. It's simple. You were trying to push the officer to deal with Section 12.
I'm not
and
pushing
we are going to Section 12.
I'm not pushing him. It's about the law, yes, clearly.
The Section 12, subsection 5, it says, now, the request for a customs ruling shall be in writing and include a statement of all relevant facts, the name and address of interested parties, the name of the port where the goods are expected to arrive or depart, and D, a description of the transaction in sufficient details to allow the application of the customs law. That is the first stage.
Right.
That triggers Section 12 when an application is made.
Right.
Now, I want us to look at Section 12, subsection 3. It says the ruling may relate to tariff classification, customs value, country of origin of the goods, or to any other activity to which the customs law may apply.
Right.
So clearly, you may apply for just the valuation. You may apply for just classification. You may also apply for country of origin, or you can apply for all.
But in the report,
now come to the OSP's report.
Precisely.
Point 4.4.
Right.
It says, of a special significance to the investigation is a joint application for the acceptance of values of frozen foods intended to be imported, lodged at the Customs Division by La Bianca. Case closed.
Right.
So, an application was
What was the application? The application was for a variation between and it's captured in the report between. I mean, because we need to put that in context. Yeah, we'll come to that. Just take your time. We'll come to that. The complaint that was launched at the time by La Bianca, you agree, was not under that guise of the advanced customs ruling, as you're pointing out.
What is advanced customs ruling? It is asking customs either to accept your value. That's why I read.
Eduche, according to the report, declined the offer that was being made at the time. It's captured in the report.
Yes,
I will, but it was captured in the report.
Customs can either decline, accept, or vary. Listen carefully.
Right.
So the applicant was applying for a certain percentage. And customs said, no, we cannot give you that percentage.
That's not what the report said. It was declined, yes. So that was declined. That's what the report says.
You see, the last time when I was talking to you, I told you you should have an open mind.
Precisely.
So that we discuss this within the context of the law.
Right.
But if you already have a mind that is not too open, it's always on only the report, you get it.
But we need to deal with the report, you agree?
I'm reading sections of the report for you. Point 4.4, the OSP's own report said La Bianca applied. Applied for acceptance of value, which is allowed here. Value, classification, or country of origin. So one of the conditions in subsection 3 is here, valuation. that customs, please accept these values for me, that would then trigger the whole process of customs advance ruling. Customs then will now decide, okay, are we going to agree, decline, or revise what you want us to give to you? You wanted 50%. We say, no, we can't give you 50, but we'll vary it. We'll give you 5% and 10%.
And that's where the Office of the Special Prosecutor is arguing that you've not met the requirements of that Section 12 because
what is the requirement?
the offer was declined.
I read the requirement for it. What is the
offer was
requirement?
declined, as being stated.
No,
Clearly.
So like
Okay, but just hold on. Yes,
Okay.
I'll come back to you all. Let's go to Zoom. Let's bring in some more perspectives to this. Adam Sedano is also on with us, and Murtala Mohammed as well, a member of the Public Accounts Committee, is on with us. So let me start off with you, Murtala Mohammed. You've heard the argument so far. What's your take also on what's transpired so far? Kindly unmute for me so I can get the points you're making. Murtala Mohammed, you'd have to unmute for us to hear the points you're making.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. So just make the point for us.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Just go ahead and make the point.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I wanted to use my laptop, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm having some difficulty. Good evening to you and good evening to my colleagues there. It's amazing the desperate attempt by people who should be interested in defending the public purse when there is a clear case of thievery, that those people are instead wanting to support those who are engaged and denying the state up to an amount of over 1 million Ghana cedis. The list said about the statement issued by the Staff Association of Customs, the better. To be very honest, the list say about it, the better. And I listened to the other panelists who said that La Bianca group didn't do anything wrong, Custom didn't do anything wrong. And he was specifically talking about Section 12. Section 12 is not just talking about application. There is a form you fill. The law is specific. There is a process, a strict process that you follow. The letter that was written to Customs by La Bianca was not an application for advanced custom ruling. The advanced custom ruling, if he wants to read the law specifically and strictly, you realize that there is a strict process that we follow. What the La Bianca group did with regards to the letter written to Mr. Edu Ichie was not. And in any case, if you read the statement issued by the Custom Staff Association, they are quoting Section 67. Section 67 is not the same thing as Section 12. And that is where my shocker is. If you think that the La Bianca group didn't do anything wrong, if you think that Mr. Edu Che didn't do anything wrong, then why are you crying? Allow the due process to take place. Now, I read the statement issued by the Custom Staff Association. And look at what they said. They said that the timing of the publication of the finding of the Office of the Special Prosecutor investigation is destructive and worrying as it concerns with the management retreat of custom divisions. What has management retreat got to do with an alleged, thievery? What has that got to? It should be in the interest of even the staff of wanting the system to be sanitized. I mean, isn't it in the interest of the staff that the Special Prosecutor go ahead, do the investigation, and probably the Yoko takes it up, the necessary bodies investigate it. If they investigate and the gentlemen haven't committed any wrong, it helps bolster the integrity of the very institution.
Yeah, but the argument is that at this crucial moment, when government is in dire need of funds, you don't want to tamper with the leadership of the Ghana Revenue Authority. So allow the process.
At this crucial moment, when the actions of the leaders allegedly denied the state over 1 million Ghana cedis, isn't that worrying?
At least the money has been paid, so it settles the problem, isn't it?
Do we know what has gone on? Do we know that if the monies have been paid, should we allow that to continue? And when we are talking about sanitizing a system, it doesn't matter whether we have lost money or we have gained money. What matters is that those who are given the responsibility to work within the ambit of law. So I'm saying that I was expecting them to say that, look, we allow the special prosecutor to go ahead. I'm surprised Yoko has not even taken this thing up. Allow Yoko, let them take it up. Let there be an investigation. And when a proper investigation is conducted based on the investigation done by the special prosecutor, for all you know, several issues may come up, issues that may be shocking to those who are working with the institution. But let me also read another point which was captured in the statement issued by the Customs Staff Association, that they also stated that the investigations report of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, on the LaBianca group is misconceived. On what basis did they come to the conclusion they are coming to? So this attempt to say that this thing is stated in Section 3. Section 3 has clearly spelled out processes that must be followed. And in any case, before you even grant an advanced custom, ruling, there should be a committee. There should be a committee.
Yeah, but you see, the point is, and they all disagree with you in studio. I'll give them the opportunity shortly. But for instance, the Chamber of Free and Trade, they even go ahead to say that this is a Ghanaian company. You don't want to kill a Ghanaian company simply because of some findings, which in their view is faulty.
If Ghanaian companies are engaged in alleged wrongdoing because they are Ghanaian companies, we should close our eyes. And what sort of logic is this? It doesn't matter whether Ghanaian companies or foreign companies. Ghanaian companies are supposed to operate within some laws. So if a Ghanaian company is engaged in an act that the special prosecutor deemed that act to be adherence to the laws, let them go ahead. So this argument of Ghanaian companies and this attempt to attack the integrity of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, I have a problem. Look, I have problems with the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and I have indeed stated my problems with that office. But in this matter, let us also take into consideration the person involved, the company involved. How come that the company which commenced work in 2014 never engaged in some of this act? They started engaging in this act in 2017. And what was the basis that Mr. Ediche refused to grant the demand that was made upon him by the LaBianca group?
Well, he points to a certain letter, but that's another argument altogether. In fact, there's a lot of resistance to the point you're raising.
Why did he refuse to honor the demand they wanted initially?
Right. Just hold on for me. In fact, this is a long night. Adam Senano, you'd have to hold on briefly. Let's get the reaction quickly. Let me start off with you, Esaro.
Yes. Respectfully, I would want to disagree with the honourable member of parliament. Right. In fact, the pressure itself is on the eminent shake-up that was published in media platforms. Mm-hmm. That is what initiated the whole statement. Right. So the talk about the timing of the publication isn't to talk about the release of the special prosecutor's report. We can't have control over when he releases his report. If it accords to the dictates of the law we work with, we would accept it. But to talk about what was the basis of us coming to the conclusion that what he has done was misconceived. That is why I kept saying, let us not confuse advanced ruling under Section 12. It's just about deciding that you want to do the thing ahead of time. Right. Then when you take that decision, if it concerns valuation, there's no advanced ruling method for valuation separately from what pertains across the entire customs administration globally. So you have to come.
I want us to move away from that because several will have issues with me. Because I'll still be forced to refer you to the report when you bring that contention up.
Let's just deal with your if you allow me to explain, because he has asked what is our basis.
Basis, yes.
So you see, the benchmark values that has been talked about a lot is actually a tool merely for risk management. So, in fact, the methods of valuation actually frowns on countries using benchmarks, because they want to be as fair as possible. So you look at commercial levels of the import, quantity levels. So when trade discounts are even given to importers, and let me emphasize this point very well, we are not doing this in defense of any importer. We are trying to state the position of the law as it applies globally. So the standard for customs valuation is actually the transaction value.
Right.
So when you import your consignment, the price you actually paid. So then I'll refer you to what the section 67 talks about.
Well, yeah.
The section 67, 1, section 67, 1, says that for customs purposes, customs value is the transaction value or the price actually paid or payable for goods imported into the country.
Right.
Then it went on further to define what even the what it means in subsection 2.
Right.
That the price actually paid or payable is the total payment made or to be made by the buyer to the seller, or by the buyer to a third party for the benefit of the seller for imported goods. So to start with, you must look at how much did this consignment cost the buyer or the importer when he was making orders. Then when he presents his invoice and backs it with evidence, and you don't have any compelling reason to doubt it, the law says you must go by that. So because our system is such an informal one, to help us, because in fact, customs took over classification and valuation in 2015.
You're an enforcement officer. You agree that you're supposed to deal with the letter of the law as well. I mean, applying it as it states clearly.
Yes.
You are talking about section 67. The Office of the Special Prosecutor says the individual we're dealing with, who is a deputy commissioner, asking him why he gave such a discount, says he was working with the advance ruling.
Yeah.
So the OSP is dealing with the words of the person at the center of this. The person says, I'm dealing with section 12. You are going to quote 67 to back him. So that's where I'm saying that we may never see eye to eye with what it is that the OSP
12,
is issuing. Right.
So when you read section 12,
right,
apart from saying that people can apply, did you see any method there to determine finally the outcome of it? But that is what I'm saying.
The process of application, was that fulfilled? That's the question.
But you see, the Honorable MP says that there's a prescribed form you have to fill.
Right.
But I'm a customs officer. There is no such form you have to fill. And that is why I'm saying that let us not dwell over form over substance. So an importer applies to you that I want you to accept my values or to give me this concession and provides invoices. And then when you make a decision on that, whether you want to reject it or accept it, you must go on now to use the methods of valuation to arrive at
this clearly points to the fact that what the OSP intends to do, and that's a complete audit of some of your transactions in terms of the advance ruling, is in place. The fear is that we're losing a lot of revenue at the ports because of some of these issues you're pointing out.
So I'll now dwell on that. So you see, when you apply for the advance ruling, as in this case, the OSP said, as part of the investigation, he directed the importer to submit invoices, bank transfers, and all that. It's the same things we do. Right. So when you get this document, and there are no basis to doubt it. So for instance, in this instant case, the person submitted invoice, submitted basis to prove the authenticity of that invoice. Yet the deputy commissioner declined that and decided to look at rather a higher value because the benchmark was higher than what the person submitted, and which the law says that actually that should be the basis of the valuation. Do you get my point?
There was still a shortfall.
No, so I'm saying that the law is telling you that when an importer brings commodities, accept his transaction value, the money he actually paid or he is to pay to the supplier. So that is the baseline. And here, we have designed a risk assessment tool. Right. And you see, valuation does more than just revenue purposes. Valuation actually checks money laundering. Valuation checks over invoicing, which can end up causing transfer pricing and all that. So we just set these minimum values on ourselves to check. So someone presents an invoice. You look at it and see how far has it deviated from this your database.
For the sake of time, are you open to the idea of that complete audit which the Office of the Special Prosecutor is talking about?
In fact, we don't have any power to prevent another public institution So as a staff association, we cannot have any problem if the special prosecutor wants to inquire further into our processes. And we would indeed be happy that if the rules are clearly understood, some of these things will not even occur. That is why I kept saying that you may be a consummate professional, but when it comes to technical issues that pertains to specific jobs, a bit more carefulness can save us all this.
Right.
And then, so let me read caveat regarding the use of the database to you to hear. That is the benchmark. So it says that a customs administration may not use a database to determine the customs value of imported goods. And I'm reading from the WCO, World Customs Organization guidelines. May not use a database to determine, which is the benchmark we are calling, to determine customs values of imported goods as a substitute value for imported goods, or as a mechanism to establish minimum values. Reject the declared value solely on the basis of a difference between the declared value and the database. So in this case, the Deputy Commissioner, if you read the facts, actually even set aside. So if the OSP was telling us, for instance, that when the importer was directed to submit this document, he's found, as a matter of fact, that these documents were far, far higher than what the importer supplied to us, then that would have been even aiding us to get to a position where we can now even say, you falsify even documents to present to us.
But there was still a shortfall. That's the argument. But
that shortfall was
between a guideline
yeah.
and an act of parliament.
Yes.
As an officer of the law, which one will you go in for?
So the OSP actually used the benchmark. If you read section 67, there's no mention of benchmark. That is why I kept saying that was an internally designed tool for us. There's no act backing
but it was
a benchmark.
It was a government directive, you agree?
I am saying to you that as a staff representative,
yeah, but it was a directive.
I actually have
we'll
my training in this field.
We'll come to you. Just hold on. I understand that you're very passionate about the technicalities. Would you allow me to bring in Adam Senano briefly so we can hear from you? What do you think about that? Okay, so just go ahead. Right.
I wanted to correct
very quickly.
A statement made by the former Deputy Trade Minister that before advance ruling is made, a committee has to be formed and a form has to be filled. It's a lie. There's nothing in this law that states that. Probably he has a different law than the Act of 2015.
It's never been a convention. You've been in the space for a long time.
Convention like
You've
that.
Never filled the form?
There's never a convention like that. You remember the last time you interviewed me, I told you that even the benchmark value that the OSP is basing his argument on is illegal. It's illegal by means of our laws, by means of WTO and WCO. There is nothing within the 6 method of valuation that is called benchmarking. So even the benchmark on which the OSP's argument is being based on is illegal. So in the first place, everything from day one is off. Number 2, I hear you saying that they didn't follow the requirement. They didn't follow what requirement? Section 7 of the Act, subsection 7 of Section 12. Let me read it to you. He said the request for a customs ruling in relation to valuation of goods for custom purposes shall include in addition the requirements in subsection 5. And then he sets the documents that you add. A, the information required on an invoice. B, the terms of trade including free on board, cost, insurance, and freight. And C, a description of any relationship between the parties. So this is the only thing, requirement, that you need to attach to your application.
Can I ask you a question? That's the issue about what LaBianca was applying for. In your view, was that an application for the customs advance ruling or a discount? That's where the challenge is.
That is what you see, from the beginning, even when you called me, I told you, let's have an open.
Yes, it's very open. That's why I'm asking you the question.
The most important element here, or character within his application, was the application for value acceptance.
So what do you classify that to be?
Valuation is what I mentioned to you in subsection 7. It said for the purposes of customs ruling in relation to valuation of goods. He's saying accept my values. What is that?
But the question is, under what guise was LaBianca coming through? For an advance ruling or a discount?
It's not, you see, you,
Right.
you just get the whole thing wrong. Advanced ruling is just telling customs. Let me give you the basic definition of advanced ruling. Advanced ruling does not discriminate with anybody, whether your position, your height, your religion, or whatever. Once you import or export into this country and out of this country, you are allowed by law to apply to customs and tell them that, customs, listen, I'm importing frozen cow legs. This is how much I bought my frozen cow legs. Hence, I want you to value it this way for me. Customs will now decide by law. They can reject that application, accept it, or vary it. They can tell you, listen, yes, you said you bought it for $2, but we believe that loading costs, transporting costs will move it to $3. So we won't approve your $2, but we'll give you $3. It is not rejection. They have varied it.
But in this case,
that is what Duce did. He varied it.
Right.
He rejected the 50% downwards that LaBianca wanted and gave them 5%. So if you read the law very well,
then if
let's
you permit
put
me
all
again.
these arguments within the law.
So if you permit me again, on the subject matter, so on the subject matter of the benchmark and its usability or legality, the Customs Act of 2015, Section 68, subsection 3F, says that the customs value shall not be determined on the basis of any of the following. Then it says that minimum customs value, that is why I kept saying that what we have done, and ordinarily, the basis must be transaction. But we have developed guidelines such as the database, which is the minimum that we have set, just to guide us. So if the person has a compelling evidence, against the law. And you can see from the law itself that it says that our own law, not we as officers designing a law. This law was passed by Parliament. It says that we shall not use benchmark as
let me bring in Adam Senano, because he's been on for a while now. Adam, you've listened to all of the arguments from the perspective of the citizens' movement against corruption. How do you see all of this panning out, and what will you perhaps advise the Office of the Special Prosecutor to do?
Well, thank you very much. I think that the customs ought to slow down on the public statements they are making and be very cautious, because the law that enacted the Office of the Special Prosecutor gives him wide-ranging capacity in terms of checking legislation, draft legislation, and any measures or frameworks that promote corruption of any form. So they have the right to go into anything. They can look at the existing law and say there's a problem with the draft law. They can go into measures, administrative and otherwise. Let me point out that there's a great inconsistency between what the Commissioner Kanadamoa said, focusing on the Section 12, and what the Staff Association has done, focusing on Section 67. Having said that, whether Section 12 or Section 67, no law in this country empowers customs to discount or to reduce values. No law in this country. What Parliament had done was to set a 50% depreciation on the existing international benchmark values, whether they want to call it benchmark or whatever. We all know what we are talking about. There's that minimum allowed kind of invoice you can present, minimum value, that would be acceptable. And then our Parliament, because we're trying to make us a destination that will be acceptable by many people for trade, did a 50% depreciation. That is law. What happened in this instance is that their officer went beyond 50%.
I'll give you the opportunity. Adam, yes, just go ahead.
Went beyond 50%,
but I'll give him the opportunity.
Went beyond 50% and gave a discount of almost 60%, if I am right. Now, they have breached the law. They have breached the law. All the discounts they have been doing, and that's part of what the Special Prosecutor is pointing out, that he now must investigate every single discount because they don't have the capacity by law to do that. They cannot use an administrative arrangement to begin to discount things. So if they are confused, they should check. The laws of this country does not allow them to do any form of discount. And the inconsistency they are trying to, is it Section 12, Section 16?
But they have been, for instance, pointing to international standards As
The
part of the
international
reasons why
standard is what our parliament has now done, a 50% depreciation. Ask the man for parliament. And that is law. So no customs officer has the right to go anywhere and say, I was reducing or I discounted, because the lady asked for about 80%. And then you think you raised it, you got it up to just about 60%. But you cannot go beyond 50%.
Okay. Well, I see that.
So I'm sorry, they should not confuse the public by talking about if it's technical and you are not sure if a form of a substance. Please, you breached the law. And they should stop going up and down about it. They are not doing any good.
Yeah, but they're talking about but they're talking about the industry, and in fact, they're boiling in here.
No. They should not confuse the public by trying to pretend that it is a technical issue we cannot understand.
Adam, let's bring in. Murtala wants to make a point quickly. Yes.
First and foremost, the gentleman in the studio, apart from the custom officer,
you mean
his first statement he made? Yes, his first statement he made, which for me was ridiculous, that the Bianca Group haven't done any wrong, custom haven't done any wrong. How did he come to that conclusion? Now, he also said that when I said that there are processes that must be followed, that there must be processes, there are processes that must be followed for advanced custom ruling to be granted. And he said he knows it. I have been a deputy minister. And the custom officer knows that before such is granted, there must be a committee. In any case, the LaBianca Group, their chief executive was interviewed by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Mr. Eduche had the opportunity to meet the Special Prosecutor. Questions were asked. In fact, they all went there with their lawyers. The information I have is that the LaBianca Group went there with 6 lawyers. How come the LaBianca Group themselves are saying that they never applied for advanced custom ruling? Yet in Mr. Eduche's written statement, he indicated that they had applied for advanced custom ruling. Isn't that a worry to the two gentlemen sitting in your studio, that there are these inconsistencies, that the very person upon whom this investigation is done, the very company says that we never applied for advanced custom ruling. And then the person who granted this says that he honored, in fact, he did what he did based on the application for advanced custom ruling. Yet they want to tell us that you need some technicalities to be able to appreciate this. I don't need to be a technical person, and I don't need to be a lawyer to appreciate wrong when that wrong is occurred. And in any case, what is the interest of wanting to defend people whose investigation had just been commenced?
So at your level in Parliament, what do you intend to do about this?
Look, in any case, and my friend got it right. Nobody has the right to determine whether there should be a reduction in value. The reduction in value is done by the supplier, not even the person who is doing it. And let's get something very clear.
Supplier who can do that.
Yes, it's
only the supplier can.
Only the supplier who can do that.
The value.
But then even
I don't know what they are talking about.
Blessings, and people should understand what the advanced custom, ruling simply means. If I am an importer and I want to import, let's say, rice into this country, then the value of the rice is, let's say, $10, for example. And I want to import that rice within a period of time, maybe a year or 6 months. Then I will write to customs. I want to import rice within this period, and I want to import it at this particular value. Custom has the right to agree or not to agree. It doesn't take one person to just decide and say that I have agreed. Now, if customs agreed upon a decision, and that has been the practice, upon a decision that, look, we will allow you to do that, and that simply means the advanced custom ruling. So they would allow you to bring in those goods at a particular value within a particular period of time. Once that time elapses, it doesn't hold any longer. So I think that we should get...
I was just trying to find out from you what actions you intend to take at the parliamentary... I was asking about the parliamentary level. What you seek to do about this?
Parliament, we are on recess. Currently, I'm talking to you from Sinyuani on the Public Accounts Committee. I'm also a member of the Trade Committee of Parliament. I have had discussions with the ranking member, and this is an issue that will take. And in fact, the Minister for Finance, the Minister for Trade must appear before Parliament to answer these questions. The shocking aspect is that this woman is still a member of the Council of State. This woman is still a member of the Board of Ghana Post and have authority. I mean, and that is why people are asking.
Are you not being personal here? Are you not being personal by just looking at the individual involved?
No. If you read the report of the Office of the Special Prosecutor itself, they said that she has taken advantage of the offices she's occupying. She has taken advantage of the fact that she's a member of the Ghana Post and Abo, governing body. She's also a member of Council of State. These are not my words. The Special Prosecutor is saying that she's doing the things she's doing because of these positions that she's holding. Wouldn't it be in the interest of customs and in the interest of even the woman herself to step aside?
So you want her to step aside?
She should, or she should be forced to jump.
Anyway, for you, Adam, what do you intend to do about this?
Well, I think that this is something we have to make a statement on, because I think that the customs people are confusing the public. They do not have the capacity to do any discounts, and they've been doing it wrongly for so long. They now think that they have the right to, and they are out arguing about it. I think they should slow down, because they are not making this case any easier for them. The Special Prosecutor is not going to suddenly reduce his interest. It's only going to expand. And the more they go at it, the more you are making a situation where the environment search is that somebody who may have then decided that, we will just look at this from a very objective, they may just decide that you people have something to hide. So the energy they are spending there is not going to help them. The investigations will be done thoroughly. We will demand thorough investigations, because they don't have the power to do any discounts. And so it's alarming for all of us to know as Ghanaians now that they've been doing discounts. That is a loss to the state. So far from them telling us that they are saving money, what they have been doing, what they have engaged in, is to make sure they have deprived this country of resources that should have come into the public purse.
But is the office of the Special Prosecutor or even the SP himself beyond reproach? I mean, he's human. But he could make mistakes, you agree?
This is not about reproach. It's about the face of the law. And we are clear what the law says. The law that was passed by Parliament allows for 50% depreciation.
Law. Which law?
Anyway,
50% depreciation.
Which law gives Mr. Eluchi the authority to do what he did? Which law?
At 891.
And read
at 891 is here.
Read the part that tells us that he can do a discount.
Section 12 is here.
It's not even section 12.
Anyway, I need to come in at this point and point out, gentlemen, just hold on for me briefly. I need to point out that just hold on for me, gentlemen. Just hold on for me, gentlemen. I need to point out that for our listeners. Yes, Mutala, just hold on, calm down. We'll have gracefully, we've been giving some extension, but that will be for our TV and social media audience. So for those of you on Joy 99.7 FM, A Walk with Jesus will come your way shortly. So let me give the opportunity now. Adam, I'll come back to you, to Sefa, because he appears to have some challenges with the portions of the law you're quoting.
I've always been, you see, I told you that. Let's situate this conversation.
So just put that out. Okay, so just put that.
I hear Senanu saying the law. Which law? He never mentioned the law. He never quoted the law. He says law. Me, I am dealing with Act 891. What law is he dealing with that is saying customs cannot reduce value? And what, you see, you are getting this whole argument wrong. Okay. Customs did not reduce value. Let's get it clear. Number one, customs never reduced value.
But there was a variation, right?
Customs varied the applicant's request for customs to accept her value.
And that's what the question is. Is customs supposed to be doing that?
Yes, it is here.
No, but because the report says that was declined. The offer, first of all, was declined. So, yeah,
I'm saying that is the percentage that the applicant wanted was what was declined. You wanted 80, I won't give you 80, I'll give you 5.
So why didn't the officer allow the customer herself to make that application again? About the new procedure. I'm just asking questions.
You write
a letter, player, so feel free and provide the answers.
You write a letter to your bank that you need a loan of 1 billion.
Right.
You add all your documentation. The bank look through your document and say, no, we can't grant you 1 billion. We'll give you 500,000. We'll go and write a new application.
It depends on what the bank requires. Anyway,
if we don't look at the law and start talking out of emotions and sentiment, we all get it wrong. whatever customs they did it within the confines of this act. Number one, we should all understand that every individual in Ghana, importing or exporting, you have the right to engage customs on either your values, the classification of your cargo. That will determine if you're going to pay 20% duty rate, 5% duty rate, or 10% duty. That's classification, where they will classify your cargo, as well as the country of origin. Right. These three elements is set clear in the law.
Okay, but yes.
It is set clear in the law. Right. Now, it doesn't mean that if I'm the president and I'm importing, I cannot apply to customs. The law does not discriminate. He says everyone. Okay, now, they apply by the Special Prosecutor's own report. It's not me that is saying. Right. The Special Prosecutor is saying that they applied. There was a joint application for an acceptance of value. That is one element under the customs advance ruling. There are three elements: valuation, classification, and country of origin. So the person, immediately you apply, you trigger the section to be operational. Now, customs will now look at your application and come to section 12. What are you supposed to attach to that application when it comes to valuation? And section 12, subsection 7 states all the documents you need to attach. Now, if those documents are attached, now it comes to valuation. Then customs will jump to section 67. That is where valuation is done.
But if in this context, I need to ask the question.
Understand. Section 67, that is where customs, the method and process of valuation is stated. So you will not find how valuation are done in section 12. Section 12 is just activating the process. So once the process is activated, which is clear that you are looking for valuation, now customs, after reading subsection 7 of the 12, putting all those documents attached, now we'll go to 67. That deals with valuation.
And that's where I want to pick up on, because there's the issue about the benchmark valuation.
I'm coming to deal with benchmark valuation.
That's where I'm going. Now, so in that context, where do we situate that?
Section 68, it says, where customs value cannot be determined. Come to subsection 3. It says the customs value shall not be determined on the basis of any of the following. Listen. And go to the F. It says minimum customs value. Minimum customs value is what we call the benchmark value, because it's minimum. It's illegal. That is what I'm telling you. By this law, even the benchmark value that customs themselves have set, I've always been challenging them, that they are even going against their own law. So the law states that you cannot have something called a minimum value and use that for valuation. So in itself, customs erred by even talking about benchmark value.
Well, they'll disagree with you on that anyway.
It's the law. Let us situate all our conversation within the law.
Yeah, but you heard Mutala talk about other aspects of the argument, which has got to...
that is why I wanted him as a member of parliament to quote sections of the law.
And he brings up the
saying
issue
that there should be a committee.
I'll come to you,
you see, you cannot just put
he brings up the issue about the individual involved. If this were to be an average Ghanaian business,
do you know the number of people that apply?
Would you jump into the defense?
Do you know the number of people that apply for
this person?
Advanced ruling with customs? If customs are to produce all applications they have received within this year, it will surprise you. Will be shocked. Why? Is it because she is a member of the Council of State? That is why this whole argument has come up. Is she not a Ghanaian? Is she not qualified by this act? The act does not discriminate. Whoever, even if the president of this republic, Nana Akufo-Addo himself, imports and wants to really enjoy the provisions in this act, he can apply. And when in this report, the custom officer Eduche and the commissioner said that they approved or varied the application under duress because the woman was a Council of State member, or the woman held a gun to their head before they approved. So once this
is a member of the board, right?
You see, you also get it wrong. I'm surprised the MP does not know the woman is no more a board member of GPH.
Really? So the facts are wrong?
The facts are even wrong. She's not on the board of GPHA again. And number two, GPHA is different.
When was this?
GPHA is different from JRA. If you're a member of GPHA, GPHA does not determine how JRA Customs Division do their work. So being a board member at GPHA, then it's like working at VACO and coming to
of the Council
Cocoa Board
you agree.
to tell Cocoa Board to give you...
And a member of the Council of State, you agree.
let us put emotions aside and look at the law. If we look at this law, everything within the law and the premise here, everything is confined here. Customs never erred. If we are having a challenge with the exercising of the administrative discretion, it's a different matter altogether. How customs has exercised...
So is this the time to reform the law?
That is what I'm saying. We can also change Section 12 because WTO, we are a member of WTO. An advance ruling is there, Article 3 of the Trade Facilitation Agreement is there. You can't.
Anyway,
so let us stop making a case out without the law. If we are going to speak the law, which law?
Okay, Mutal has an answer for you. I understand.
Which law? He says the committee.
You have a
which
quick
law?
one there.
This is the law.
Listen, for a moment, I thought he was the spokesperson for the La Bianca group. To be very honest,
I mean, this is the president of
you know
the
why?
chamber.
You know why I said?
This is the president of the Chamber of Free and Trade. You agree? I mean, so he would speak obviously on behalf of the business
why
community.
I say this is that he consistently refused to respond to the contradictory statements given between Mr. Eduche and the La Bianca group. Mr. Eduche claimed in a written statement that they applied for advanced custom ruling. La Bianca Group, in their written statement and response, said they never applied for that. Isn't that enough a worry?
I agree to that.
Isn't that enough a worry? And in any case, he said that is it because the woman is a member of Council of State and that we do not know that she's no longer on the board of the Ghana Post and Harbour. At the time of this alleged infraction, was she a member of the Ghana Post and Harbour governing board or not?
And then he goes ahead to respond by telling you that this is someone who's a member of the board for the GPHA, not necessarily in charge of the GRA.
I have been a deputy minister for trade, and I do appreciate this. There is a direct working relationship between the Ghana Post and Harbour Authority and the GRA. He knows that. The Custom Division, and specifically, work with them directly. So what is he talking about?
Yeah, but which part of the law prevents someone who works as a board member of GPHA?
In one breath, he said, the logic he's trying to espouse is that, the woman applied. If I apply for a job at Joy, I applied to be a newscaster, and then someone also applied to be to work in the marketing department. And his logic is that because I have just applied at Joy, it doesn't matter. It matters. In the application, and if you read the report of the special prosecutor, then the fact that the company had actually written to the custom division and specifically Mr. Eduche, you say that okay, they wrote demanding ABCD and for you it's enough. The special prosecutor's position is that they wrote in specific reference to Section 12, and Mr. Eduche himself said that they wrote in specific reference to Section 12. The people he claimed wrote in specific reference to Section 12 themselves are saying that we didn't apply for any custom valuation ruling. We didn't apply for that. So what is he talking about?
Okay. This is the point I want to bring in, SRO, but Adam, I'll come to you shortly. In fact, sources are even disclosing that the issue of the advanced ruling is becoming a challenge even within GRA as we speak. Some of your officials have been directed not to exercise their discretion simply because of the reports from the OSP. Are you able to confirm that? And is that not indicative that that regime needs to be changed?
So I would want to emphasize and strongly that our interests as Staff Association of the Customs of Ghana, in fact, we are all Ghanaians first of all. We are all interested in raising revenue for the state. So our interest in this matter is not because we just simply want to, and I want to state again that it is not specific to this transaction. We are concerned now because we feel that most of these our rules are being misconstrued. And as a professional institution...
Really? It's not because of the individuals involved?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, in 2017, as a result of some of this misunderstanding of our rules, most of our officers had to suffer interdictions and later reinstated. So as a preemptive, we need to now begin to clarify some of these rules so that when the rules are laid clear, so that is all our interest in this. As technical people, just like any other profession in this country, we actually even work. Customs of Ghana is a reputable member of the World Customs Organization.
And I appreciate that,
so
but
most of these are
I'm
rules.
pointing to the portions on the issue of the advance ruling becoming a challenge at GRA, because Sefa was just admitting that if we have a problem with the law, let's go ahead and fix it.
And that is what I'm coming to, because you see,
right.
we have obligations under international law. Customs is a signatory to the World Trade Organization Convention on Valuation, which is the GATT agreement. So that is what regulates, and that is what we have domesticated in our Ghanaian law. So customs alone cannot begin to even act as an island on its own and begin to say we have a problem with it. It is out of our informal nature of business transactions that we, as customs, in fact, our laws are either an LI pass into regulations or the act itself.
Right.
Nowhere in any LI will you find benchmarks. It is a tool that we developed ourselves. And it is right that if you have discretion to develop something, you equally have discretion to do away with it. And so in this case,
isn't it? Because at will, you may vary it at will. And
no, not at will.
Depending on who is applying for it.
That is why I have said here that if this whole conversation from the report is saying that the importer, the applicant, submitted these invoices to us, then the OSP has now found out, after he directed the importer to submit originals, and there's a disparity that would have even helped our cause. That would have established that she had probably falsified documents to us, and that is an offense under our laws.
What influences an officer? And of course, you would understand that better. What influences an officer who may be issuing this advance ruling that we're talking about?
The only influence would be what the law says.
And the law appears to have a challenge there. You agree? Because you do that at will. I guess
it is not at will. And I'm actually saying it is open to everybody to apply. If there's any evidence being led to say that, for instance, the importer in this case had some preferential treatment aside others, then we would be on the same page. So what we are trying to state is that these rules are internationally applicable valuation methods. What the officers have done, or what our interest in this matter, is to begin to state the position of the law. If there's a conversation about how mechanisms can be put in place, how, for instance, we can be assisted. So I'll give a classical example of how valuations from India, for instance, is done. When Indian consignments are made to Ghana, because there's a portal where we can go to verify how much the person actually paid at the port of exportation. When we go to that portal and we see it, in fact, when that value is confirmed, and even it appears on our benchmark, we have to apply the person's transaction value. Because all we do is to determine fairly how much the importer actually paid for his consignment.
So you don't do that just out of...
The law says you can't even be arbitrary. So if you cannot, for any reason, accept the person's transaction value or the price at which he bought his consignment, you must go sequentially. You don't even do it haphazardly, through 5 other methods. So you may want to look at whether there's any identical commodity. So you are looking at, if it is Samsung, it's the same Samsung, the same spec, in all respect, from the same country of origin, from the same importer, then you can apply that. If that cannot fail, so it is sequential. You go through it. If all this is not able to determine the value for you, the law says you use a fallback method. And it enjoins you to be flexible. So this conversation we are talking about is not about the importer bringing the thing. She's bought her thing for, say, $10,000. Then Customs of Ghana decided that we are going to give it to you at, say, $9,000 instead of the $10,000. Here, there's no question from the OSP's report that what she submitted does not corroborate exactly how much she paid. So when that is satisfied, then you ought not even be going into
So what do you think
benchmark.
the Office of the Special Prosecutor was engaged in? They wasted their time?
No, so what I'm trying to say is that if you understand some of these things, and you see, I keep saying customs, we have compendium of customs valuation report. issued every year by the Customs World Customs Organization.
Okay.
So we have other instruments that guide our process.
Okay, I'll come to
deploy them,
let me bring in Adam. Adam, I see that you're rebutting some of the points being raised in the studio here.
Let me read the Constitution. I mean, they were asking me about the law. It's a customs law, 2015 89. I seen one that Parliament then passed an addendum in 2019. But I want to read the Constitution first.
Okay.
So, Article 1742 of our Constitution, and by the way, no WTO guideline overrides the laws of Ghana or any country. So let me read it. And it reads, 1. No taxation shall be imposed otherwise than by or under the authority of an act of Parliament. 2.
Yeah.
Where an act enacted in accordance with clause 1 of this article confers power on any person or authority to waive or vary a tax imposed by that act, the exercise of the power of waiver or variation in favor of any person or authority shall be subject to the prior approval of Parliament by resolution.
Yeah.
Please listen again.
Nobody has waived a tax.
Please listen again. When the exercise of the power of waiver or variation in favor of any person or authority, it shall be subject to prior approval of Parliament by resolution. 3. And then it goes on. In other words, they don't have the capacity to vary, to waive, to reduce, to discount, according to the Constitution of Ghana. Now, the question I have asked over and over again, they've not answered, is whether Section 12 of the Customs Act or Section 67, where are they getting the power to exercise the authority to waive, to reduce, to discount? Please note that.
Okay.
The figures supported. Please note. The invoices supported by La Bianca, the eventual approval by that customs officer went below the values on the invoice.
Not at all.
They should understand.
And you're pointing to which part of the report from the OSP this was contained in the findings?
That's the whole point of them saying that what they have done is against the law. It's a breach of the law because they didn't have the right to go to then decide.
I guess this was after the reconciliation of the figures by the OSP. They did not point.
Now, why would La Bianca with 6 lawyers pay back 1 million if they did not understand that?
But we need to establish that point that in terms of intent, there is no portion of that report from the OSP pointing to the fact that La Bianca intentionally avoided any of the payments that was handed over by any GRA official.
Therefore, this is purely in the ambit of the customs.
Yes,
where
exactly.
In terms of exercising discretion, we don't know how they got that power to exercise that discretion.
Right.
So they should stop confusing people. Where do they get the power to discount, to waive, etc.? The constitution of this country doesn't allow them to do that. So what are they talking about?
Okay, there's a quick response from Sefa. I'll come to you, Mutala.
I told you from the onset that if we situate our conversation within the law, we'll get it right. I'm surprised. Where did we talk about taxation here? Did the OSP report about taxation? It's valuation.
Right.
So what he's reading from the Constitution is nowhere near the conversation at all.
But the amount being paid by La Bianca is what? What does it amount to?
It is the value that the Customs Division approved and varied. Right. They did not vary tax.
If the value is varied,
value of the
could it affect? Yes, but just a question: if the value is varied, could it affect the eventual figures that will be paid by La Bianca?
You are making it so difficult.
No, I'm just asking.
You are not giving me the space to explain.
No, but I'm asking a question.
Can you let me explain?
Yes, but I'm asking the question.
Because taxation is different from valuation.
Right. But
would you take
is
your
there
time?
Any bearing?
Would you take your time?
That's the question.
Income tax is a tax.
Okay.
Import duty is a tax.
Right.
Do you get my point? So if you are reading from a taxation point of view and we are talking about valuation, classification, and country of origin, they are two separate things.
No, but we're talking about the bearing. Would the valuation have any bearing on the eventual amount? It's just a direct question to you, Sefa.
So
no, Sefa. To be fair, yes.
You are making this whole conversation difficult because you are not even. Everything is here.
Right.
I don't want you to speak from outside the law or hearsay.
Okay.
Stop hearsay.
No,
you know why you are finding it difficult?
No, right.
Because of there's so much perception and speculation. Customs are corrupt.
Right.
Freight forwarders are corrupt. Importers are. So we are not situating our conversation within the confines of the law and finding out that were customs wrong by dealing or engaging with the importer based on their own act? Were they wrong by varying the importer's application, or if they have even approved straightforward the 80%, they were right. If they think that the importer or the documents provided, they are satisfied with it because they are working with the law. In the first place, the benchmark value itself that we are all talking about by this law is illegal in the first place.
That's your argument.
That is the law. It's not my argument. I have read the law to you. If you say it's my argument, it's as if I speak it from the moon and I'm speaking. I quoted the law. The law for you is here. It is not coming from me. The members of parliament that are representative in parliament, they passed it, including Honorable Mutala. They passed it, not me. And it is here. It says, let me read it again. The customs value shall not be determined be determined on the basis of the following. And F says minimum customs value. So you cannot sit customs on their own. I have always been challenging them that benchmarking itself is illegal because you cannot sit and say this is the minimum value you should pay for a pen. Because by your own act, it is illegal to do that. So in the first place, the benchmark value that they had placed on imported frozen leg quarter or whatever it was illegal. So if the importer on his own applies and say accept my values, what the importer is doing is 1, triggering section 12, and then 2, telling them to use the first method of valuation, which is the transactional value of the cargo.
So Sefa, now to my question. It is by law. Now to my question. Is there any bearing, with the valuation on the eventual amount?
Of course, it's a value that you calculate your duty.
Precisely. So the interest of the state will be about the amount which the OSP is retrieving, isn't it?
No.
Just provide some explanation to that, Sefa. No,
I don't. You see this.
To be fair, provide some answers to that because
you are not giving me the opportunity.
No, but the average person out there is asking the question.
I am trying
about
to educate the average person who wants to learn.
So that's why I'm asking the question.
So let us go by the law.
Right, but
the law says that, you see, if we are in level 100, you want us to answer questions in level 500. How is that possible? You have to move from 1 before you get to 2, before you get to 5. Don't confuse the listener. Somebody is listening. He's confused. What is happening? Why is customs saying this? Why is the OSP saying this? Let us educate them by starting by quoting the law. This, I didn't write it in my house.
So it's not the fault of La Bianca, basically.
It is not. La Bianca did not write this. Neither did the Chamber of Freight write this. I'm not sure customs themselves wrote this. It was passed by the parliament of this republic, where Honorable Mutaka is a member. And they told us this is what customs is supposed to work with. So if I come and I see there is an opportunity I can take advantage of, irrespective of my position, which is by law, and by WTO agreement and by all methods of valuation, even the method of valuation here states that customs first has to deal with the transactional value of the cargo. And I write to customs that I am intending by this law, it shouldn't be a transaction that is ongoing or an ended transaction. It should be a new transaction. So I write to customs, I intend to import, or I'm importing leg quarter into Ghana. The value of which I bought my cargo is $2 per carton. This is my invoice, my sales invoice. This is my freight receipt. This is my bank transfer SWIFT. This is my sales contract. Now, customs, you receive this. Immediately customs receive it, section 12 is triggered. Now, customs will now come and look at subsection 7. If you have all the documents you are supposed to attach to this. If all the documents are there, before they start valuation, then they go to section 67.
Mutala is reacting to this as well. Mutala, let me bring you in.
Bless him. First and foremost, the gentleman, the freight forwarders, my good friend there. In the first place, I really don't know what interest he's serving there, frankly speaking. One, there is a saying that if you haven't stolen the saltpeter, and they're shouting that someone has stolen saltpeter in the market, and you in the entire market have started running, everybody will know who has stolen the saltpeter. 2, he has still not responded to the statement I made. That how come that Mr. Edu Techi said in a written statement in the presence of his lawyer that the Bianca Group actually applied for custom
The advance ruling you're referring to.
Advanced custom ruling. Yet the very people he claimed that they did that said they never applied for that. 2, Mr. Damwa retired himself to the special prosecutor. Indeed, distanced himself from the action of Mr. Edu Techi and said that there were a lot of disingenuity in the action of this officer and the other officers at customs. Yet, he tacitly gave his approval to the action taken by this gentleman. What we are simply saying, if you think that they haven't done anything wrong, why are you desperately rushing to the defense of people who have been allegedly engaged in a crime? And this alleged crime is cited by an office established by the state. Now he's telling us that it's about the law, it's about the law. The office of the special prosecutor is working with the law. Now he's creating the impression as if he's so concerned about the law.
Okay.
Then there is another law that is in the process of working, yet he's attacking that law.
Okay.
Yet he's attacking that law. The first statement, let me conclude on this.
Okay.
The first statement he made, for me, clearly tells anybody watching this that he's there to defend the Bianca Group and defend customs. Because his first statement was that the Bianca Group, they haven't done anything wrong. The customs haven't done anything wrong. Someone who touched himself to be so much protective of the law, I'm coming, let me land.
We have
who
limited
touched
time, right.
to be so much protective of the law would allow that law, the processes of that law, to be completed before he can come to the conclusions he came to.
Okay. SR, let me give you...
Listening to the panel discussion this evening makes me feel there's a lot of work to be done.
Right.
And that is really our interest in this whole thing. Because you see, when you have a profession you so much love, and there are rules that are internationally accepted practices, domesticated, passed by our parliament itself, we believe that those laws must be respected.
Okay.
And just to sum up,
right.
Our appeal really is that this year's revenue target, the customs officers are committed to achieving and exceeding it just like we did last year. Right. That is why we are appealing that we need some harmony, some level of industrial peace to be able to achieve our mandate.
I'm grateful. Stefan, well, we don't have all of the time. I mean, this will go on and on and on, but I'm grateful to my guests tonight here on the show. Of course, for those of you commenting on social media, unfortunately, we are unable to pick your comments. I'm Blessed Sogan. We have more for you at myjoyonline.com.